I think I said that. Okay, cool. All right. So a couple of these, workshops we're talking about, could get into the weeds. This is going to be a little bit more difficult for me to get into the really detailed weeds on pitching. But what I'm going to try to do is hit the high points. One, we're going to talk about, who to pitch, how to pitch, and what to pitch, depending on what your interest is. So I want to start out by giving you the insights of who, and not just what, but who. Let's talk about the who to pitch. So if you're a screenwriter and you really want to get your screenplay produced or bought or optioned, you need to know who to talk to. If you want to be a crew member, a camera person, or wherever else, you need to know who to talk to. If you're an actor, actress, or you want to be in front of the camera of some sort, you need to know who to talk to. If you're a writer director, if you're a director and you're trying to find, financing, how do you pitch that? Who do you talk to? If you want to produce a TV show, how do pitch and who to pitch to? So those are the things I'm going to try to touch on. So let's start with, first of all, the who, but where to find the who. Where to find the who. It's something I teach my kids, where to find the who's. So I'm going to tell you a couple of places you should be looking. And I know you guys, some of you might not have a lot of money. With this industry's shrinking, as you guys probably well aware. There's a lot of jobs scarcely done right now. But what I would highly advise is investing in IMDb Pro. There's a reason IMDb Pro versus IMDb. And used to, it was a little different. IMDb Pro is actually a tool that I've used for almost 20 years. Because this is why you need to be able to understand who you're pitching to and also what they've done in the past. Because part of what you try to do is define legitimate people to pitch. And I mean legitimate, meaning if you are a director trying to find finance and a producer, well, you're going to want to search producers that have actually had successful careers. So part of this is when somebody says, "Hey, I'm a producer," you know what? I would probably go Google them, but I would look at their IMDb. And so IMDb becomes very powerful tool for IMDb Pro, I'm saying, because it gives you a sense of the companies, if a film got distribution or not, if there's any box office return, if there are producers that have optioned many scripts before and you see what they're actively doing, things like that. That is important. It's an important tool. And I implore you to really dig into anywhere you want to look at. Please look at that. The second avenue is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is more of obviously, I think it's more of a business wide. I mean, it's for every industry pretty much. But the thing is, a lot of my studio executive clients, a lot of the executive clients from development to production, all have LinkedIn pages. The reason this is important is because you need to know who you're pitching. Like you need to know about them. You need to know who they are, who they work for, what projects they've done. And this goes across the board. So my thing is once you figure out who the who is, it's like the where. So, you go down there, figure out who's, and you figure out where. And they might be working for a production company, they might be working independently, but you need to research that. And my suggestion is I use Google Docs and Google spreadsheets, but you create a spreadsheet of leads because pitching is nothing but simply sales and numbers. It's a numbers game. I will give you an example of numbers. Right now, my Rolodex for my client base to pitch to bring projects to Connecticut is over 1,000 people. So I'm emailing them knowing that out of 1,000 people, all I need is to get 2 or 3 or 4 people to pay attention. Okay. So it is a numbers game. It's a sales numbers game. So the only way to really get yourself either a job, your financing, get produced, or whatever is to be able to have a massive database. Now, some people are like, well, I can't find the email addresses. I love this question. How do I find their contact information? Well, I don't know if you ever watched the show. What was it? Catch Me If You Can. Not Catch Me If You Can. What was it? The dating show. I can't remember the dating show, but you can use websites like Rocket Reach. Um, there are searchable, and I use Rocket Reach. I've been using Rocket Reach for about 10 years now, and you can actually find people's email addresses and direct phone numbers. There, it is very possible. So when you build a database, first of all, go to the IMDb, search it, put their names, put their IMDb Pro link in there, so you know what they've done in the past. And then I would also build out, their email and possibly their phone number if you have it. But usually the emails are pretty good. So really, that's where you have to build that database before you even start trying to figure out how to pitch, because you need to have a way to, I don't know, knock on a lot of doors virtually, so to speak. So I think that's important. The other thing that I want to stress, and this is kind of where you want to go. So let's say there were several questions, and I'm going to touch on some of these questions at the end, so we'll be able to address a lot of these specifically. But one question was like, well, if I have a TV show, who do I pitch? You guys need to know that the way you get a TV show, if you've written a TV show, now the way this works is you usually have three components. Component one is either a concept idea, one sheet summary. And concept two, or thing number two that you need, is a show Bible. Um, and number three, sometimes you need to have a pilot, not all the time. But a show Bible is obviously breaking down all the episodes, and usually you need to show season two, season three, at least up to three seasons. But where you pitch that to, you don't pitch it to a direct network. You have to go through a showrunner. Showrunners, or I would say seasoned writers that want to become a showrunner. For example, if you looked at your favorite show, um, Severance or whatever you want to say, Yellowstone, you could look at the writers on those. And some of those writers are developing their own projects. Showrunners are the ones that are basically the director of the entire TV series. And those people have direct, first look deals with studios. If you go to a studio directly, they will look at you and say, "Where's your showrunner?" And you're going, "Well, I don't have one," or I am the showrunner. Well, what's your experience? So you can, and there are a rare instance, very rare, but there are rare opportunities as somebody will go pitch it and they pick it up. It's very difficult. I'm just trying to give you sort of the industry inside that you're going to get, nobody's going to read it. And you need a little bit of a strong, weight, which is a showrunner. So what you do is you also look at production companies that are producing notable TV shows that are geared towards your genre. This is something else. And I'm going to spear off from this. This also goes to producing. If you wrote a script, if you're a director and you want to get a production company on to help you finance, you need to go after people that have done that genre before. Okay. If you go to somebody like a Shondaland and you try to pitch the next horror film, TV series, like a Walking Dead, she's not the right company to go to. So do you see, you have to know your companies and what they're actually doing and what they're actually picking up, because part of that is you don't want to waste your time, obviously, because this is a lot to do. So I would suggest, and this has been always ever since I've taught people how to pitch, is do your research first. Don't go into this blindly. If you don't have the research as a sales agent, they have all their clients they're going to pitch and wherever they're going to go. So I would highly advise making sure you do your research. If you're an actor, I know this has also been well, how do I get into a movie? How do I've never acted before. Who do I call? Ghostbusters. But no, it's casting directors and it's assistant casting directors and it's casting agencies. Because here's the thing. If you go to a producer that you might can do a short film, great. They're great. You can do a student film, but if you want to get on something that's going to pay you and you want to get into SAG, if you're not into SAG yet, you got to get with a casting director. I'll give you an example. Our casting company, Crooked Smile, Don Q, love the guy, awesome. He is one of our board members of the Alliance. But talk to him. We have Nina, which is our local casting director, CSA casting director. You reach out to that. So if you're an actor or an actress, or you just want to get in front of the camera somehow, make a list of all the casting directors and casting companies in the region. And I'm not talking about just Connecticut. I'm talking about like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. Okay. It's important for you to build your database and to have that, because your tool really is that database, or is that a spreadsheet, if you will. That will help you. Obviously, you can hit everybody, how many times ever you want with an email or whatever. Um, so that's really, I think, the important thing is, and I also want to caution. I want to caution this is to you the expectation. One of the things that I'm really dear to my heart, and I care about every crew member, every person I work with. I treat them as family, but it's about managing expectations. One of the things that has been very difficult for especially newcomers in this industry or trying to make, they have this expectation that they're good. Oh, and then they're going to be like, I'm going to make the next Sundance film. You got to manage that expectation because I'm going to tell you, you're going to be pretty heartbroken and probably bitter and probably frustrated with the industry. Because for every time you apply for a job or every time you email a producer, there are thousands of people just like you around the world doing just the same thing you're doing. So you're competing with sometimes thousands of people, sometimes a few hundred. You're competing for that. You're competing for their attention. You're competing. So the expectation is that's why it goes to sales and numbers. It's a numbers game. So if you only have 5 people and you're pitching to 5 people, the likelihood, you got to open it super wide. Wider the better. And sometimes even a little bit far stretching. I know we're working with a director right now for our next movie, and he directed a short film. He's an AFI graduate, directed a short film, but the short film happened to get into Cannes Film Festival. And all of a sudden, he got representation by an agent, and now he's got financing to do a big feature here based on his short. So you can do a short film. You can do stuff like that, but you have to manage the expectations. The other thing that I want to stress is if you do want to pitch to get into a festival, because a lot of people want to get their films in a marquee festival, and I'm talking about the top 5. You know, Sundance, Cannes or Sundance, South by Southwest, Toronto, you know, Tribeca, things like that. You have to know what they're programming. You have to look at Sundance has a culture. Sundance actually has a specific type of films that they do. And there are specific programmers that work that you can research that certain programmers have a certain taste, if you will, of what they're looking for and how to present. My great friend and great producer, Ison Robbins, has 10 films in Sundance, and he'll tell you it's not just you just go in, it's about who you know, and you have to know the culture, and you have to know what the festival's really looking for. So then this goes all encompassing on one very important thing that I can teach you from the bottom of my toe to the air at the top of my head. It's all about relationships. The thing about relationships in this industry is that people are human. They don't want to be, hey, I need a job. Oh, sorry, you're not going to give me a job. See you later. That's not what people want. People want to be liked. They want to enjoy. I call the entertainment industry kind of like we're outsiders and sometimes. I mean, sometimes we're Atlanta misfits. We got, some interesting people creatively. But build those relationships, and don't pitch for a job. Pitch to build that relationship because the relationship is what's going to get you the job. I will tell you a very good example of that is one of the best advice that I was ever given was from my mentor that he said, it's not about what you do or how good you are. It's about what people, if they like you and they enjoy being around you and you're a personable person. You know, you can't go after somebody and get upset because they're not replying to you. We're all busy. We're all extremely busy, especially people that are successful and that have got a lot going on. But if there's a polite, sort of, reach out to be a friend or at least build a relationship. So I have a phrase, politely persistent. Politely persistent. The persistent call or email should not be overbearing, should not be every week, should be respectful of the person you're talking to because they could potentially hire you, finance your film, or give you a break. And you don't know what is going on their end. So the idea is to just be politely persistent. And what I used to do when I first started out was I would have my list and I hit everybody up once a month. That seems like a lot, 12 times a year, but I guarantee you, I knew their birthdays. I knew if they got married or if they had a kid, I tried to find out more information about them, especially some of my bigger clients. I knew exactly, you know, a lot more about them than they, because I wanted to reach out and build that relationship. And I politely persisted. And I'm always like, I understand you're busy, but just when you have a moment. So I think that the thing is that people get really frustrated because they feel that they're great. Every one of you on the screen, I would imagine, it has some awesome greatness in you somewhere. It's either you've already done it, or you have done it, or you're about to do it, or you're going to do it soon. But you're going to produce and make or have an awesome experience, and you're going to share that with the world. That's going to happen because if your heart's in it, eventually it will. You know, I've always heard this. Every no gets you closer to a yes. And that's what you can't let it be discouraging because it can get very discouraging. I will tell you, sometimes it's taken me years to get one or two clients to jump over the line and actually do something. There was one project in particular that took us over 10 years to get the financing for. So you have to, and then one film I did, I got the financing within 6 months. So, it all depends. It all depends. So I just implore you guys to just that politely persistent, respect the other person, treat the other person as you would want to be treated. Because in this industry, it's rough. And it's rough because people have a hard time hearing the word no or the silent no, which is I'm not replying to your email. I'm not going to call you back. And you can't take that as a negative, I don't like you. Most of the time, these guys, people don't have enough time. I mean, when I was, collecting scripts years ago, I had three people on my team. We were reading anywhere from 15 to 20 scripts a week. It's insurmountable. So the way that we go through, the way you weed through this is you try to build those relationships. So the next thing that comes to mind is, so if you're going to pitch that way, what do you pitch, right? If you're an actor, or if you're a writer, director, script writer, whatever else, what do you pitch? Because this has always been a very specific thing. So I'm going to start with screenwriting because this seems to be a lot of things. A lot of people write a lot of scripts and they're like, I got a great story. I know I'm going to write a script, and you write a script and you have your friends read it and they love it. And you're like, oh my gosh, I have, this is great. And we're going to make this movie, and which is fine. Love that. Love that attitude, and more power to you. But here's the thing. Number one thing you should do first is copyright your script, okay? Because here's what's going to happen. WGA registration means diddly squat. It is just a library. It does not protect your script. So please don't think, oh, I registered with the WGA, my script is protected. It is not. What protects it is a US copyright. Copyright your script first. You don't even have to have it, you don't even have to have a finished draft or a finished, perfect, polished script. It could be just a draft, but you need to do that. Number two, never, ever, ever send your script to anyone without them asking for it first. It is unsolicited material. Every agent, every manager, most of all producers that I know will not read a script unless it's been asked for. So an unsolicited script legally, they won't read it. They literally will not read it. And it will be just a waste of time. And then what will happen is they're going to look at you as an amateur. And then they're not going to send, they're not going to really read anything. And I'm talking about if you get into the higher echelons of producers and studios. It's the idea of the pitch. So when you pitch a script, log line, maybe a brief paragraph synopsis. I would get this meets that. It's Catch Me If You Can meets Pirates of the Caribbean with a twist of Shakespeare in Love. That sounds like a cool movie, but and then you give a little paragraph or a synopsis or a log line, very short. You pitch that and say, would you be interested in reading the script? But before that, you should know the person you're reaching out to. Are they developing scripts? Do they develop scripts? And what genre do they develop? All you have to do is go to IMDb Pro and you can see what kind of scripts that they've optioned. It'll say development, option, script. Look at the genres. Go through them. Make sure that you're not pitching, a horror film to a rom-com producer. Doesn't work. They won't even look. I mean, they look at it, they're like, this is not for me. So I think that's a key point because you want your script to be read. But what you also need to know is that the way scripts are usually read anyways is that they're read by usually an assistant and there's coverage done. 90% of the agents that I know at the major agencies don't even read the dang script. All they do is they read the coverage that their assistant did. And their assistant's going to say recommend or not recommend or pass. So it's all about coverage. So if you look at that and you know it's a coverage thing, so it's not about your script can be great, but it's about how good a coverage you can have. So my recommendation is that what you do is you just go out and try to find some people that might be interested in your idea and pitch the synopsis, and it should be this meets that with a twist of that, however you want to do that. Think about an elevator pitch. You should be able to pitch your script in 30 seconds. You should be able to tell me in 30 seconds what the script's about. And if you can't do that, you need to work on that because that's what you don't have a lot of time. And so that's something that is important. So, and then once you send the script, what I always do, just because people are concerned about copyright, you can watermark a script. You can watermark a script. You should watermark the script with the person's name on it. We do it all the time. Every major, production, all the scripts go out with their names on them. Put a name on it. That way, if it gets, somewhere else, it has your name on it. But then you can send the script out. Now, the question is, once you send the script out, how do you do a follow-up? Well, we're going to talk about follow-ups in a little bit. But so that's screenwriting. Now let's go back from an actor standpoint. Okay, so if you're an actor and you got a nice headshot, first of all, number one thing, you need to have a headshot. And it needs to be a professional headshot. It's done by a professional photographer that does professional headshots. Like for you can't just have your mom or dad or your best friend or somewhere that's really good with a camera. You want somebody to have a professional headshot. And the reason that is because these casting directors and a lot of the producers look at what I call the standard Hollywood format. There are standard Hollywood formats. If a headshot does not look like a standard Hollywood format, then they're going to like your name and sure, and they're like, she's probably not, that person's not a good actor. They literally will. It's crazy that they do that, but they get millions of headshots. And so if you ask yourself, well, how do I get that headshot? Where do I go? I would just go and contact people that actually, that do professional headshots. And there's a lot of great photographers in the state, a lot of great photographers. And some of you might be on the Zoom right now. Actually, part of your service could be that you could do professional headshots. The second thing is a resume. Now people go, yeah, well, I haven't done much. That's okay. If you did a play in high school, that's fine. If you did whatever, put as much as you can on there. And then you obviously put what you're specialized at. If you know how to play the guitar, if you know how to underwater scuba diving, all those things are important. People go, well, what should I do my headshot to look like? My headshot to look like? Well, again, that just depends on what you want for your role. Or, if you're going to go for a detective role, you might want to do different looks. But you need to have that. And then when you pitch that, what a lot of actors will do is they'll email a producer or a director. That's okay. I mean, you can email a director. I'm just saying, if you really want to get a good paying acting gig, it's going to be through usually a casting director or a casting agency, or the likelihood that you actually know, if you know a director that wants to put you in their film and it's a short film, or maybe it's a feature and it goes to a Sundance, that might help get you to break out a little bit. The other thing is an actor's a reel. Now, let me tell you a little secret about a reel. Everybody wants to, let me see your reel. Here's the secret. You can go fake a film. All you have to do is do a half acting scene. You could do just random scenes. You could do like, I'm going to do a detective scene. I'm going to do a doctor scene. I'm going to do, a person that, that just found out their wife died. Whatever. I don't know. Create a scene. Just create a scene. Clip those together. It just show me your acting ability. It's not necessarily you're in this movie. So a lot of people are interested in like, well, I don't have any reel because I don't have it. Well, go get some. Here's the other thing though. If you're going to shoot a reel, or if you're going to have somebody, make sure that it's a person on the other side of the camera is highly professional. You want to make sure that they can really shoot these things and it looks great. And that's another thing. So we can touch on it. And I think about actually having another workshop specifically about acting and getting more detailed communicating with casting directors and things like that. But let me move on to, a producer. Let's say you're a writer director. Let's bet it is. Maybe you're a writer director. I don't know if TJ Sullivan's on here, but TJ's fantastic. He did an awesome job with getting Midas put together and things like that. But if you're, he wrote, directed Midas, which is, if you guys seen it, it's a fantastic movie. But if you write direct, it's like, now what do I do? How do you pitch? Well, first of all, there's two things you have to think about. Number one is your financing. What's your budget? How are you going to, what's your financial structure? And number two is your talent. You got, who's your actor? And you got to get actors. Now there's always this chicken and egg thing. Like, I want an actor, but I don't have money to pay for an actor. Like, how do I get the actor? It's like, that goes to, go back to IMDb Pro. That also goes back to the actor that you so like, that you think that would be great for your script. You could go to their producers that they've worked with in the past. Maybe you could pitch to those producers. Maybe they have the relationship. And if you want to go to an actor, the best place to go get an actor, and especially if you don't have a lot of films under your belt, this is kind of your first or second film, go to their managers. Agents, all they care about is money. They will literally not even talk to you unless you have money you can wire money in their account in 24 hours. I mean, they're just notorious for that. Unless you have a relationship. Now, luckily, because of my background, I have relationships at WME, CAA, ICM, all the major studios. But go to the managers. There are so many, like there's just Management 360. There's, all kinds of management companies, and you can search that on IMDb Pro. And then you can look at the management companies and look at the talent that they represent. The reason why managers are important is because managers are looking at developing the material. They're looking at developing their client. They're looking at getting the opportunity and creatively, I guess, putting them in a direction, helping them navigate their creative goals. Agents just want to make money off of the talent. That's plain and simple. So, that for me is, if you're going to write or director, you need to think about that. Now, financing is tricky. It's tricky because, the way financing structures are, and I talked to Lauren about this, and I talked to the alliance and our board members. I'm going to be doing a workshop, and please nod your head if you think this would be worth it. If I see people nodding their head, I'll do it. Is how to get a film financed and get distribution. Okay. I think that would be a good workshop that I maybe do in April or something. I'll have to think about my schedule, but I would like to go down that road, because that road is extremely difficult to explain in 10 minutes. It's a complicated process. It leverages many different avenues of how to go financing, from, a Kickstarter program to go into what they say your rich uncle, to pitching it to a studio, to whatever. So I think what I want to do is I want to kind of put a pin in that, and think of having a more of a specific workshop on that, just so I can give you guys more valuable time and everything else. So, but moving on is, let's say you're a young student that just graduated college, and you're like, now what do I do? I'm like, I want to get involved in something. Somebody please tell me. I don't know. I would suggest, this is my suggestion, is get on any set, any film set. I don't care who they are. You know what? You're not going to get paid. Well, hold on. Full stop. Get on a film set with people that are experienced in the industry. Do not. And if you want to really make sure you climb up the career ladder, you have to get on productions that are legitimately, founded. They pay their people. They have a legitimate producer and a director on. They have potentially a distribution, or they could get a film into Sundance, or they've got a film in a major festival. The reason I say that is because if you live in your little bubble and you can hone your craft, great. But you know how you hone your craft? By working with people that are better than you, or have already made it. Because if you stick in that little bubble, you're all going to sit there and feed on the ideas. You're going to talk to I just talked to my best friend. Well, he's never written a script before. He never got a film produced. I just wrote a script, and I go to my friend, and my friend's like, oh, this is an amazing script. How does that person really know? Because they've never done anything. So that's my point. This is to protect your interest and your time. You should be able to get into a film set. If you want to be a writer, get on a film set. Start making relationships. Even if you're a PA on a film set, I bet you could go and maybe talk to the first AC that actually has a camera and maybe they like to DP and maybe you write a short. Now you talk to a really seasoned first AC or second AC or a DP and convince them to do they'll maybe do it for free. And then but you got to get seasoned people around you. The worst mistake that I have seen, and I saw it in LA over and over and over again, is that people will go into these groups and the groups that they're in, nobody in that group has ever really made it. Like made something, like produced something that was on Netflix or Hulu or went to a major festival or even went to a small regional festival. I mean, there's some great regional festivals here, guys. I mean, like Mystic Film Festival, like New Haven. There's a bunch of really great film festivals in the state. But you should go to those film festivals because at least they're getting their film up on the screen. If you're working with somebody that's never done that, why would you? I mean, and this is just, I'm just saying, as in the advice that I would give you guys pitching to the right people in the right time, it's always about looking at who they are. So this goes into a writer, director, also, an actor, anybody on the screen. There are one thing you should be reading 5 days a week. I'm going to give you a reading assignment. Everybody should be doing this every single day. It's the trades. Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Deadline, IndieWire. You need to be reading The Wire. You need to be reading those every day. Now you have to read all the articles, but you need to peruse them. You need to know what the industry is telling you. You need to know what's bought at Sundance. And Sundance was pretty sluggish this year. There wasn't a lot of films bought. People go, "Oh, I got my film in Sundance." I mean, we have an amazing Ricky. I mean, come on, guys. We have a film that was produced and shot here. I mean, awesome. And it went to Sundance and they're looking for distribution, but it's awesome. But even if you go to Sundance, you still don't get distribution. But you need to read the trades. And that's why I like IMDb Pro, because IMDb Pro curates as a news feed. So like every morning I get up before I start my day, get my coffee, and I literally scroll through all the headlines. And there's a lot of interesting headlines. But what if I'm trying to produce a horror film? Well, I would need to know, like Lauren Lavera that we had on The Monster, which we just filmed. She's like the knockout, star of the Terrifier, series. But see, that's because people are paying attention to the trades. They know who's hot, who's coming up. There's some actors that you can get for hardly no money that are actually they're a breakout star. There's things you can do, but you need to know the trades. You need to know what they are, and you need to read them every day. And it's to educate yourself, because it's like if you want to be a great football player or a basketball player or a great swimmer or a great gymnast, you have to study. And people like study your craft. And I think for me, and this is how I work, is for me to study my craft really is about studying what's going on in the industry. Like somebody had a question about the fires in Pasadena. And part of that was, yeah, it's sad. I mean, our house that we had in Woodland Hills was right on the verge of being evacuated if we were still there. And it was sad. It's devastating. Place we got married, in Topanga Canyon, got damaged and burned. So I'm just saying that it is going to affect the industry. And then the strikes absolutely affect the industry. There's a shrinkage of about 45%. Also, you need to be aware of that US production has probably plummeted compared to what it was post-COVID, um, or pre-COVID. So you just need to know the industry. You need to know, like, where are the jobs at? Where can I get hired? What can I do? How do I know what's going on? You need to know that. And that's something that the education and teaching you guys, like the best advice I can sit down is just, if you know what you know, you only know what you read. I mean, and you do the research on it. The other thing is that one of the things that people are always saying is, well, if I have a script and I want somebody to option it, a lot of times, people don't want to pay the money. They don't have the money, or they're going to option it. If nobody's going to pay you money and they're going to option it for free or $1, you should definitely put a non-exclusive clause and first right of refusal in a contract. The reason is because if somebody's not going to pay you money, okay, great, that's okay. We've done scripts and we've produced movies that there was no money in the beginning, and then they got paid once the film got financed. That's fine. But if there's an opportunity for you, you need to be protective of your writing and protective of your creative story. And there are opportunities to get your screenplay out there. Once somebody actually said there was a question on was what was it? Sorry, about screenwriting competitions, and doing screenwriting competitions, and would that help, and all that. Yeah, no, it just depends on what you're doing. If you're going to, you have to think about it from a screenwriter perspective. If you're going to pitch the screenplay to get produced and made, or do you want to get a screenplay used so you can be repped by an agent so you can get on a TV show as a writer? Two different ways, two different types of pitching. Okay. Because the TV route, it's a lot about spec scripts. It's about, you got to get a manager, you got to get in a writing room, and it's a lot different track than going and writing a screenplay, getting a producer on board and be able to write it. Now, so let's go into pitching yourself and pitching how you are, who you are. Here's the thing that I want to touch on that I've said this to a few people, but I've did it in my career. Brand yourself. Come up with a logo. Come up with a concept. Come up with a website. Show what you have. Why you're good at what you do. Is there something that you do special that no one else has? Is there things that you can provide? If I'm going to go shoot in Hartford, the first person I'm going to call is TJ Sullivan. The reason why is because he's made a really great brand from himself, the Hartford Film Company. So if I'm going to go shoot somewhere else, I'm going to call people that have really made a presence and actually promote themselves. And you're like, well, how do I do that? What do I do? Well, it's easy. You just come up with a basic, simple, marketing strategy. You build your brand. I like a logo. It's actually interesting because, we come from a visual perspective industry, right? We like to see things. It's like I don't want to read some boring thing. So it's brand yourself, and I think that's important to utilize your skill set, and whatever your skill set is, show it. Don't be afraid of it, because guess what? You know what? You might not be at this level right now, but at this level you'll be here. But maybe this level you're here. Like eventually you'll get to where you want to go. You just got to kind of, it's a numbers game, as I said in the beginning. It's a numbers game. So the other thing that I'd want to stress about pitching yourself is and this is please, and I'm going to say this, and I can't say it enough. Just respect the person that you are pitching and their time. One of the things that really helped me in the beginning was I was going after mentors. I wasn't asking a mentor for a job. I was asking for advice. I'll give you an example. My mentor has been for over 20 years is Barry Osborne. Produced Lord of the Rings, won 11 Academy Awards on the last Lord of the Rings, on the three series. Barry is fantastic, but you know what? I've never asked Barry for a job. I've never asked Barry to, do anything for me except give me advice. Now, I'm asking you to shoot a movie here, which is a little different because I'm a production services company. So I'm at, hey, if you got a movie, shoot it in Connecticut. But Barry has always given me advice, and he's always appreciated that I appreciate his time, and that I know he's busy. And if he picks up the phone, it might sometimes, he'll go 2 months, 3 months, and I haven't talked to him. And then I call him and he'll pick up the phone or call me back. But find a mentor, and that mentor needs to be somebody that is seasoned and that is successful. And they don't have to be in the state of Connecticut. They could be anywhere. I mean, they could be anywhere. It's somebody that you can rely on for good information and some advice. And so when you pitch yourself, you can talk to that mentor to help you pitch and help you kind of come up with a plan. Um, and the other thing that I want to stress when you're pitching yourself is please do not do a copy and paste email that's basically the exact same email. You have to personalize it a tad. And I mean by, if you're pitching a producer, maybe mention one of their films. I know people do that, and I think it's a great thing to do. If you're an actor or something, make sure you mention something. Make sure that you are letting them know that you know who you're talking to. Because if not, they're going to be like, nah, another one of those, delete, delete, delete. They won't even read them. I mean, I know, I know assistants At the agencies, they're getting, 500 emails a week. They just delete all of them because they don't read them. So you have to figure out who they are and what they are and, a little bit of background. So make it personal. Make it personal. It's okay. I mean, if you make it personal, I think that's where you're going to really have a better chance to make an impact. Um, you know, you also want to make sure your presence. People are like, oh, IMDb, I'm going to pitch myself. I don't have any credits. Do you know that IMDb Pro, you can add your own credits? Now, they used to, it'd be very difficult to get a title up. It's a lot easier now to get a title up. But if you have a script you're developing, if you attach some person that's already had a lot of IMDb credits, usually you can get the film up there. You can build your own IMDb. It's very simple. Sometimes they want to prove it, and they'll tell you why they want to prove it, and they'll actually give you an email and they'll say this is why. And then you kind of might have to play with it a little bit. And also in IMDb, you can put a resume on it. Now they used to not do that, but now you can do that. I think that's important. Pretty much the IMDb Pro is what everybody in the industry uses, pretty much to, hey, who is this person? So building that's important. Sometimes Production Hub, that's another place you could put yourself on. If you're in the reality space, so hey, I have a reality show. I want to get in a reality non-scripted world. Well, there's a really great place to do that. It's called Staff Me Up. If you want a PA job, by the way, that's another thing. Don't be afraid to jump over and do PA jobs on like a Hell's Kitchen or something, even though you want to be in the feature film side, because one, you're getting money, getting paid. Two, you're getting some experience or some decent experience. But two, you can get on Staff Me Up. And maybe you have to do some reality shows. And then you do some feature films. I know people that go back and forth a lot, and they do both. Some people don't want to do that, but we have a lot of reality in the state, a lot. Um, so I think that's another place to think about where to pitch and how to pitch yourself is where can you put your resume at, right? Um, and that's just and also there's a lot of Facebook groups. I know I feel like we have like a dozen Facebook groups in Connecticut. Get on a Facebook group. And keep in mind, and this is what I like I said before, make sure you're looking at who you're communicating with so that you know if it's legitimate or not. It's not a bad thing. I mean, you can work with people that don't have any experience at all, but keep in mind if you want to keep going up the ladder a little bit, how do you build up your resume? How do you build up your net? You got to keep making steps above. Um, and sometimes they're not going to be great. Sometimes they're going to be good. Sometimes that. I do believe in getting paid. If you have no experience, do some student films, but what I would look at, I know UConn, I know Sacred Heart. There's a lot of great WestCon. There's a lot of really great universities around here that do student films. There's all the 48-hour film festival. I think that's also a great thing to do. But when you get into giving your creative, ideas, you're pitching your scripts, you're pitching a film, be mindful of who you're pitching to. Because you don't want to give it to somebody that says, oh, I've got millions of dollars. I'm going to get it to Sundance. I can finance it. And they've never done it on anything. How do you know? You don't know. So you go after people that are legitimate. Um, so this gets into now pitching your project. Because I want to get into questions. It's like I said, there's a lot of questions, so I'm going to try to get to them in a little bit. But let me go about pitching your project. So I've been able to help a couple of filmmakers in the state get distribution. And one of the pieces of advice that I can give anyone is that your poster, called the one sheet, should look like the genre that you're going for. If it looks like somebody did clip art and somebody did some high school, or college graphic work, look at the one sheet poster of a horror film. I'm just going to use an example, a horror film that you have. And you have a horror film. Do they look the same? Not same and similar, but same as in professional level, the level? Because here's the thing. When we worked at the distribution company, here are two things we always looked at. Number one thing, we didn't even really look at what the film was about. We looked at the one sheet. We looked at the poster. If the poster looked like it was professionally done, we might take a look at the trailer. And in the first 5 seconds of a trailer, I can tell you if it's good or not. And it's the reason that is because it's a professional trailer. You have to look at films. If you've got a film finished, my suggestion is look at the genres that you're trying to go for, and then try to mimic other films that have been successful. That's okay. You know what? Some of the best producers, it's not that they steal ideas. They just take ideas. They take creative, good ideas from everybody else, and then they kind of come up with their own idea. But here's the thing. You've got to look like an industry standard. If your trailer does not look like a trailer that's on Netflix, Or that's another thing. You could watch Netflix trailers. You can take horror films and watch Netflix trailers. There's actually an app, I think, on Apple that you can watch just trailers. You should watch a ton of trailers. You should try to get a feel for the way they structure it, the cuts, the pacing, because trailers are a whole different animal than the feature film. I know one film we had, the trailer was so awesome. It got over like 2 million hits. And when we looked at the movie, and the movie was terrible. I was like, I can't even get through the first 30 minutes of this film. We had to re-edit the whole film because the film was terrible. The trailer was, I mean, awesome. It blew the doors off. But the film itself sucked. So let me give you a little key insight on trailers. You want a really good trailer? You know who you should go to? People that have shot commercials. People that shoot commercials, I don't know if anybody you guys on here shoot commercials, but commercials are a great way because you got 15 seconds or 30 seconds. And most feature length trailers are anywhere from a minute to 2.5 minutes. Nothing should ever be over 2.5 minutes. I say 2:15. And if it's 2 minutes, it's you better have like it's got to have a lot in there. You got to be careful with that. But that's what you learn when you start studying. You should study. I mean, you really should watch a bunch of trailers and genres and then the posters. So here's the thing: if you want somebody to watch your movie, and this is going to get into the distribution side, but I'm just talking about pitching your film. You never ever want to send the film to anybody, ever. It's the same way as a script. Don't ever do that. It's unsolicited material. Period. They will not watch it unless it's a person that you have a deep personal relationship with. Like I can call, my friend James Huntsman, Blue Fox Entertainment, and I can show him a movie. He'll watch it no matter what because it's coming from me because he's a good friend of mine. But my point though is that you have to do the same thing as you did the script. What I would do is you pitch the one sheet, professionally done, and you put the trailer, and you put a little log line about what it's about, and that's it. Hey, take a look. Let me know if you'd like to see the film. And then people are like, well, how do I protect my film because I want to send the whole film out there? That's called Vimeo. Just put a password on it. And by the way, Vimeo will actually track how many people are watching it. So you'll know if I send it out to 1,000 people, did 1,000 people watch it or did only 25 people watch it? So you can track that. But I would just my suggestion is it's the same way as a script. So also pitching another project. Let me say this from a TV show because this is one of the things that somebody asked about the TV shows. If you're going to pitch a TV show, the thing that you have to realize is that nobody's going to read a pilot. Nobody's going to read a whole Bible. They don't have time for that. What they're going to do is they're going to read a 1 to 2 page summary. I would do a 1 to 2 page, probably two, depending on how many is it 3 seasons, 10 episodes a season. The industry standard right now is either 6 to 10 episodes, pretty much on a Netflix show. They used to do 24 back in the day when my dad was watching, TV shows on cable. But you never want to send the Bible because again, that's the same thing as sending in the film, same thing as sending in the script. The Bible is that's the whole creative screenwriting. It's a whole story. I mean, and so what you do is you hold that back because you want to see if they're interested. Do a 1 page pitch, make it look really pretty. You got to think about it. You just do a Word doc. I mean, it's all about imagery. I mean, somebody asked me, on this question, do you need visuals? We don't need video visuals. By the way, you don't need a sizzle reel unless you're doing reality. Reality is a little different. You need sometimes a sizzle reels. Sometimes you could do a short film, which is the film that the next movie we're doing here in Connecticut. The guy shot a short film, and then he's basing the short film off of the feature. But that short film went to a major, went to Cannes Film Festival. So, but what I would suggest though is making sure that when you pitch the Bible, you already have their interest, right? Because they've already read your synopsis. Now, I would love to see the Bible. Now, here's what I also want to tell you, a little insight. If you're not a known screenwriter or a known showrunner, the problem about giving somebody a pilot, the showrunner is going to write the pilot probably with another 2 or 3 writers, with you maybe being the creative driving force of the story, maybe because it's your story, right? But the showrunner is going to rewrite the whole damn pilot anyways. So you don't necessarily need a pilot. You could write it, but don't think that, oh my God, I'm going to get a pilot and they're going to use my pilot. Chances are, if you're going to go to Netflix or Hulu, or not Hulu anymore, but if you go to the major networks, they're not going to do that. They're going to have their own, they're going to rewrite the whole pilot anyways. Now, pilot could also be proof of concept. Now, a lot of people say, well, do I pitch proof of concept? You can. It's actually pretty cool, but a proof of concept should also be like a trailer. You can't give somebody a 30-minute proof of concept. They don't have the bandwidth to watch that. But you give them a 2.5 minute or a minute and a half trailer that's proof of concept. It's almost like a fake trailer in a way. Okay. You can do a proof of concept as a trailer and shoot that or put that together. And that's something that you could show, just like you would a film trailer. So you don't want to go spend 20,000 bucks trying to go shoot a pilot or a sizzle reel or something. Just do a trailer because you got to get people interested. Once they're interested, then they go, well, now let me see what you got. Okay, well, here's the script. Here's da da da. Okay. And now, one of the things that have been really important when pitching projects is there was also a question on, financing. Do I need to have a budget, schedule, financial plan, distribution plan, all that? Yes, you absolutely do if you're trying to get financing. Like you cannot pitch it. I mean, you need to have a plan and you need to get a proper schedule and proper budget. I'm going to be doing this later in the year if I have time. I think nod your head if you guys would want to do this workshop and is how to do a schedule and budget. How you do a schedule and budget, because I will tell you, please, I implore you, don't ever trust a budget on a movie unless there's a schedule and a breakdown of the script done first. You cannot properly budget a film unless you do a proper schedule breakdown. Day out of days, because how many days your actor working? Is it a schedule F? Is it whatever? So that's something. So when you pitch to a financial, you better have all your financials and all your plan in place before you go pitching, because the next thing that they're going to do, you'll pitch the idea and they'll love it. And they're like, hey, send me your financial deck. And you're like, oh, I have a top sheet budget. No, you better have a full budget done. Oh, how many days are you shooting? Well, I think we're going to shoot 30. How do you know you're going to shoot 30? Do you have a schedule? By the way, do you know what's the tax credits like? Because that's always a question. So you got to have all those ducks in a row. So this goes all the way back to the beginning of what I said. You have to do your research. You need to do your research. You need to get all of that put together before you start pitching. Because if you pitch too soon, you're only going to get one chance. Right now, we're working with someone that we have been working with for 4 or 5 years on a TV show development idea, and she hired us to consult on that. And she's really kind of gotten frustrated over the couple of years because she wanted I got an idea. I'm gonna go pitch it right now. I'm like, yeah, but you gotta develop it. It needs to be developed. So make sure you workshop your scripts. Make sure you really work through everything, because when you get that pitch, that's your chance. You don't want to, because if they say no, and I always tell people this, if they come back to you and they say no, so you pitch your TV show idea and you get a no, sorry, unfortunately, we're not doing this, or sorry, whatever. That's okay, because the next email you should say is, thank you for taking the time, really appreciate it. Um, would you be happy if I could send you any other material? Or what else? What would you be looking for? Engage them. Do not just go, oh, well, they don't love me. you know so you can't, and you track. And my suggestion is, this is my OCD, logistics producing side coming out, but on my grids I actually make notes of when I call, what they said, when I emailed, what they said, when I emailed them, and I track it, and then I color code it, because then I know my priorities. So maybe I have 1,000 people I emailed, but now I've whittled that down to 30. And out of that 30, I know 10 of them I've already had meetings with and that want to look at shooting this in the state. Okay. So your tracking grid, that's like your engine. Like that's your gas, because, well, your gas is your project, poured in the engine, so to speak, but that keeps you running. Because if you're going to pitch, who you pitching to? So as it going back to pitching to who, that's the research. And I'm going to give you an interesting example. If you want to pitch to an agency, or you want to work for an agency, and I'm talking about the majors, CIA, WME, ICM, you want to do that. You want to find an agent at CIA. You want to do that. Here's my suggestion. Read this book first, because this book is probably one of the best insights. It's Powerhouse CAA. It's one of the best books that breaks down the agency world. And the reason why I want you guys to educate yourself on this because remember I said managing your expectations. If you get into this, you'll understand the way these agencies work, and it's not as pretty as you might think. I've had interns that are currently now working at one of the major agencies, WME, and it's a world that it's a different world. So educate yourself. The other thing is, if you don't know, like, hey, I want to be a producer. I want to be on set. I want to get on behind the camera. Here's another book. I would suggest reading this book. I think it's out of print. Harris Tolchin, one of the writers, he's an attorney, is gone to Sundance since the early 90s. Great friend of mine. But it's every time I have an intern, I make sure that they read this book. Um, you need to educate yourself because part of this is if you're going to be a PA, if you're going to go on set, you've never been on set before. The best advice I can tell you is one, be aware that you need to anticipate what people want. How do you anticipate what people want if you don't know what they want? So one of the things that you can do, I don't know, a lot of productions won't do this, but I will. If I hire you as a PA on our next movie, I'm going to give you the script and you're going to read the script. You're also going to look at the schedule because you're going to know the script. You're going to know the schedule so you understand what's going on, how to read a call sheet, all that good jazz. We're going to be doing a boot camp. I'm going to be working with Ed Cohen, and some other people to do a boot camp. And we're not asking you guys to pay for it, by the way. That's, I mean, that's not something you should have to do. Um, but we'll get down the road. So I think what I want to do is, I want to kind of get into some of these questions because some of these questions are extensive and some of them. So I'm not going to be able to get to everyone, but I think that it will help if I kind of hit some of the highlight ones, the ones that specifically I think kind of touch on a lot of the subject matter. Um, what advice would you give a beginner producer, creative director that is trying to garnish visibility? It's a good question. The only way if you're going to make it out, you've got to film, you do anything, you got to make a splash. You have to figure out how to get yourself seen. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, that's why it comes back to marketing. One of the best advices I was ever given is consult a marketing executive. I don't know, some marketing, you don't have to pay for it. I mean, just like find a mentor in marketing. Basically, you have to market yourself. There's so many video platforms right now. There's so many things that you can promote. You can talk about your project. You can put it online. You can talk about who you are. You can put it online. Basically, you can market yourself and be invisible. Now, if you've done some stuff, like let's say you've done a couple of short films, they haven't gone to a festival or anything, that's okay. If you can edit a short commercial reel of all your work, make it a commercial, or not even make it a commercial, make it a trailer. And then that way you can then, as I said, the database that I said in the beginning, look at who you want to get attention from. If you want to be hired in the camera department, or if you want to hire as a director, or if you want to be hired as a screenwriter, and you haven't done any of this, like you just got to go after. And again, if you haven't done anything, you're trying to break out. Maybe that mentorship is a thing you could go for. You have to have patience though, because sometimes it might take some time. But that might be a really good place to start. Um, let's see. What advice? Okay, let's see. How long? Somebody says, "How long did it take you to become a great producer?" I don't know if I'm great. I don't know. I would say I'm okay. Do my thing. Producing is producing. You can produce anything. I think the thing that a lot of people don't know is producing is not just about, hey, I'm going to make it happen. You got financing, talent, script development, physical production, post production, delivery, and distribution, and festivals. Like that's a whole gamut of producing. And there are a ton of workshops and ton of educational places to learn about that. People say, "Oh, do I have to go to film school?" Not necessarily. There's a strong belief you don't have to go to film school. I think a lot of times film school is actually a good place to network, and you get relationships out of those. You go to AFI, NYU, Sacred Heart, or even UConn. You build up relationships that help you get to the next level. Um, but I will say that probably the best thing that you could do to make produce is just get started. Just produce something. Yeah, like I said, if you're an actor, here's the great thing. Some of you probably are fantastic actors that never had a chance to really be on camera, but you've been on a lot of maybe plays, right? Stage plays. Well, guess what? Find a really great DP or director that's maybe done some commercials in the state and convince them to maybe shoot some like these little snippets of not real movies, but just a snippets of you doing a scene, a monologue. Do a monologue. But don't make this thing more than about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, because people don't have the time to watch a 10-minute reel. Um, so let me go into, let's see, look at some other questions. Um, I love this. What are the 5-10 mistakes filmmakers mistakes filmmakers make in their pitching their projects? One of the things, so there are a lot of mistakes, and now we've all made mistakes, and I'll tell you, I've misspelled people's names. I've copied the wrong name. I mean, I've done it all. I mean, and I try to make a joke of it. But the thing that probably the most the biggest mistake you make is having the expectation that you're so good that they're good. They have to do it. They're just you feel entitled. Like you've got this like I did it. They're going to do it. You can go confidently, but you got to manage your expectation. They I I can tell you right now. There's a reason that I have gotten a lot of these big clients. It's not because I emailed once or twice and made a phone call or two. It's because I spent months and months and years on some of these people working, to get that relationship built. So just manage the expectation. Know that you're going to get a no, but don't let it discourage you. Actually, let it fire you up. Let it get you excited because you're going to go to the next no, to the next no to get the yes. And when you get that yes, hallelujah. Where's the money? Somebody once said to me, if you know it's real, you know when it's real is when they're giving you money, when there's money on the table. That's when it's real, period. I mean, you know, and I mean money, even if you don't have money, they're like giving you cameras. They're giving you stuff to make the movie. Um, but mistakes. Another mistake that I think a lot of people make in pitching is that they, like I said before, they pitch too much, meaning they put too much information. They pitch the script. They get this. They get that. It's a big long email. Nobody's going to read that. It's a quick, easy, short paragraph. Done. Here's this. Da 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 da. I can tell you right now, there's a couple people in Connecticut that I've helped, kind of guide them through distribution. And part of it is you just got to email 1,000 people, and you just and you don't want to overload them. I mean, you come up with and then you mark it and then you go back. And so I think the mistake is that people immediately send the script. Well, as I said before, they're not going to read it. And this is how crazy this is. I'll tell you an interesting story that this will explain how this industry is so fickle. Okay, years and years ago, I went to CAA, met with Kathy Tarr. She was a story editor. She gets all the scripts that come in, and then they do the coverages. They send them to the assistants, and they figure out what agents gets them. And she said, I sat in her office because at one time, I had a script at CAA, and Rogue Sutherland was my agent that was representing that script, and it never got made. That's okay, but it was cool. It was at CAA for 3 years. I went in her office, and one side of her office was all these scripts that were, in blue notebooks, pink notebooks. They had different color paper. Some of them were in boxes. Some of them were, had, different shapes of paper and all of that. Plastic notebooks was a big thing. She said that's list over here. Then she had a stack over here that was white script with two brads, not a third brad, but two brads. And she's like, those are the ones we're reading. These are the ones we're going to throw in the trash. Plain and simple. I'll never forget that because again, it goes back to the industry standard. Industry standards, if you're going to give somebody a script now, electronically, we do it different now. But I'm saying if you're going to, this is how fickle they are. You give them a script, it better only have two brads and it better be white, and that's it. And you can't take the brads down in the back either. And there's a reason for that. This is the funny, because people don't, there's a little bit of a history. There's a reason for that because they want to be able to take the brads off. And then what they do is they copy it or they scan it, and it makes it easy to scan, makes it easier to deal with. In a notebook, they got a bunch of notebooks. It's just not. So again, goes back to industry standard. Also headshots, industry standard headshots. So these are the mistakes that people make is that what they do is they do something they think will work, but they haven't gone to a mentor. They haven't really done the research. So they send something out and they end up burning that lead because that lead's not going to respond to them. So that's, I think, and then another mistake a lot of people make is they're not prepared. There is the Kid Stays in a Picture documentary, Robert Evans. Guys should watch it. It's a great, great documentary. He has one thing in there. Luck is preparation meets opportunity. You can have all the luck in the world, but you better be prepared for that opportunity. When that opportunity comes knocking, you better have your stuff in order because you're going to have that opportunity to get something made. So it's about being prepared. And it's also about being ready. And then you're good. And I'll say this, for example, if you have a film that went to Sundance, here's another mistake. A lot of people think, oh, my film's going to go to Sundance. And all of a sudden I'm really successful. But the problem a lot of producers and writers have is they don't have another project ready to go. When it's hot, that's when it's hot. When you hit the iron when it's hot. And you're hot, you basically have like 3 month window. After 3 months, everybody's like, they moved on, right? You have to hit it when it's hot. And so if you get a small regional festival in Connecticut, right? Let's say you got I'm using Mystic because we did a panel last year at Mystic, but let's say you get your film in Mystic. That's great. But you know what? You need to be in that room. Hey, everybody clapping. That's awesome. I love it. And then somebody's going to say, well, what do you got next? You better have something ready to go. Because that's how you use your momentum. Momentum is another mistake. People don't know how to write out momentum. So they'll get a good email from, hey, I'm interested in reading your script. But then you're like, oh my God, I don't have my script ready. Oh, crap. Oh, 6 months go by. Oh, hey, so-and-so. And they don't respond back to you. So again, before you pitch, you have your stuff ready to go. So a lot of times people get really impatient. And I think another big mistake is they get impatient. They're like, I haven't heard from this person. It's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Well, like politely persistent. And I think, and lastly, I don't know if these are 10 mistakes, whatever. But lastly, one mistake that I've realized is in I get frustrated. I mean, we all get frustrated when people say no, or people don't respond to me, or they don't give the answer that I want. But the thing is that if I let people see that, if I let people hear that, my frustrations at them because they didn't pick my script or they're not producing my movie or they're not hiring me and I'm going to go and get upset at them, what do you think that's going to do? It's not going to go good it's not. I mean, you're not going to get anywhere. So be mindful of that. Be respectful. Treat people with the utmost respect because they can make or break. I mean, the old adage where you used to blacklist people, it's still done today. I tell you right now, my blacklist people I don't work with. I got producers that are huge producers in LA that I will not work with because they treated crew really badly or they didn't pay people or whatever else. So keep in mind how you treat people. So I think that was, I don't know if that was 10 mistakes or whatever, but I hope I covered some. Let's see. Looking in the film. Well, hold on, give me a second here. Here we go. So is it best to just verbally pitch or add some visuals? What info should be key in a pitch session? That's a good question. Now, if you're pitching in person, you got to have an elevator pitch. I mean, yeah, you come up with visual. You don't. People. Well, here's the thing: unless you have a highly, highly professional, skilled sizzle reel done or a trailer that's polished, that's been vetted by maybe one of your mentors, don't show it. Because what will happen is they might look at the quality of your work and they might not even think about the idea of it. They might just be not happy with the way it looks. And so many people are so fickle on that. So when you pitch, you should be able to pitch it verbally within 30 seconds. You should be able to go, boom, that's what it is. And be confident and know that's what it is. And the second thing is, as I said before, one little secret that I've done is that if I do pitch the synopsis or log line for a script, and I've done this in my past where I've had the log line and I've had a little synopsis and we had a professional one sheet created. Now it's a mock-up. It's not real because the film hasn't been shot yet, right? But we had a mock-up done and it looked really cool. That was a visual, sure. Now let me get into the other visual because this is also, there's a digital visual, and then there's the paper visual. I guess we want to call it paper. The digital visuals are important. They're but you have to be, like I said, you have to be mindful of what that looks like. Because if you're trying to pitch a $10 million movie and your concept reel looks like it was shot for 10 cents, yeah, it's not gonna be good for you. So my suggestion is a pitch deck. Now, a lot of people do pitch decks. One of the things that I've done is I perfected the idea of pitch decks. It's not just what's in them, it's how they look. So, they need to look highly professional. Like you have to look at a magazine. Think about it from a magazine perspective, okay? Don't think about it from a Word document. You got to think of it from a graphic design standpoint because they're looking at it from a visual. Netflix is notorious for this, by the way. You pitch Netflix directly, you know what? They are very big on visuals. You have to come in with a big poster. You have to show like really glossy decks. It's like super glossy, super like over the top and not over the top, but just very professionally done. And make sure that it has all the necessary information on it, bios and synopsis and whatever else. Your pitch decks, you can send those out all day long. We do it all the time. I'll send out a pitch deck. I have a pitch deck. I literally have a pitch flyer that I send out to my clients to get them to shoot in Connecticut. I have a production guidebook that I built, call it a pitch deck, but it's a production guidebook that I built that I send out and it's a visual thing. I mean, we're in a visual arts. So one of the things you could do is like, well, I'm not very good at graphic design art. So it's like, you know what? Let me tell you, one thing you should do is there's a lot of great students out here. There's a lot of great graphic design workers out here. There's a lot of great people that are really good at it. Here's the thing. Don't trust somebody that just says, I'm a graphic designer, so I'll do it for you. Look at their work and compare their work to something that looks like a studio theatrical film. Plain and simple. That's how you do it. Your visual should only look like it's actually already been in the theaters, right? And like I said, the best way to do is go through Netflix. Just go through the trailers. Look at the one sheets. That's all it is. It's like perusing. So many sales agents that I know when talking about sales and distribution, and this is why I want to do a workshop on this because literally they will not even look at a trailer if they don't like the one sheet. They'll just go to the next one. It's so crazy that they'll do that because they have thousands of them, thousands that they have to look for. So that's why you have to kind of stand out a little bit. So I think that's an important thing with pitching. One question was, do you have any advice for someone that recently graduated from college and is just getting into the industry? I think I've said this before and I touched on this before. I think the best thing to do is just get on a film set. Even if you're going to shadow somebody, we do this. I mean, you have interns. I mean, and if you're an intern, don't be afraid to jump in and say, hey, what can I do to help? What can I do to help? Hey, I want to learn. So many people are like, how do I build leads? I'm a writer. How do I get leads? How do I network? Well, get on a set. If you're not on a film set, you're not talking to people. Like you'd be surprised. There's a lot of people that I know that are camera operators that are also moonlight as a director and they're doing short films, but their day job is working on a big TV show as a camera operator or a dolly grip, things like that. Let's see. Let's see. Here's a good question. How do I pitch a television show project to a network or production company? Or like I said before, you can't really necessarily pitch directly. I highly recommend not doing it because they're not going to pay attention. They're going to pay attention to your showrunner. The reality side, if you wanted a non-scripted reality or docuseries, if you want to do a docuseries, you need to go to production companies. The way reality works is that you go to production companies that actually produce the content for the network. Give you an example. There are I think Lucky Eight. I think it's Lucky Eight. I forget the Shark Week shows here in Connecticut. You've got what they did to Hell's Kitchen. I forget not what I heard her production company. I forget her name on the production company. But you go to production companies, and that you pitch your because they will then bring in their showrunner, develop it, pitch it to the network. If you pitch a reality show directly to a network, they're just going to say, "Who's your production company?" And you can say mine. Well, mine doesn't. We don't do reality. Do you see where I'm going with this? So it's important. Let's see. Who do I pitch or find them? I think we went over how who do I pitch and how do I find them or how to find that. I think the big thing too is reading the trades because you know what you can do with the trades? You can actually see names that pop out, like hot new director, well, like Ricky. I mean, that's a great example. I mean, this is a really cool thing, and we should be really proud of it having a Sundance film that came out of Connecticut. Midas, another great film, Candlewood, with um, Mike, which by the way, he's on our board and Candlewood's what's great. He actually sold out. I don't know how many nights the the theater in New Milford. So it's knowing who to pitch and where to find them. And again, that goes. And people are like, well, how do I know people locally here? That's a good question. Well, that's part of what the alliance is. Obviously, we're doing that to help you find people, but also just look at the last 25 films that have been produced. There's one way to do it. I know the film office has a list of curated list of all the films, but you can also go the IMDb. You can search too. I don't know if you can search what cities they've been shot at, but a lot of times you go to detail and they'll tell you where they shot at. So be mindful too, because you could look you could look at producers that have shot physically here that maybe they're in LA, but they've shot here before in the past. Um, let's see. Project is approach to investor. Uh, okay. Okay. So here's what are most screenplay contests a waste of time and money? It's a good question. Screenwriter Twitter, which is now most of the screenwriters, that group has kind of moved to Blue Sky, just FYI. Used to be called, everybody called it Screenwriter Twitter, but now it's on Blue Sky, I think. Here's the thing a lot of people get contests. These contests are here. If you get quarterfinalists this, and finalists that, unless you're the finalist, I mean, that's a pretty good thing. But those quarters, 100, there's 50, 60, 70 people. And the reason that most people do that, they do these contests, is because they don't have a network. They don't have somebody to pitch to. So they're using the festival, these contests to get attention. But these contests are also designed to get money out of you. So it's kind of a little bit of a gamble here. So what's better is to get a real script notes from a real writer and get script notes from them and develop your screenplay, have it workshopped, figure out getting a mentor, get a really good screenplay, spend that money that way, and then go back to what I said originally as a writer, go back and pitch your synopsis. Well, it's this meets that. You could do the contest, but I would only look at the top three. You get it, there's a lot of contests. And it's like, but you want your work seen. So I get it. If you feel like you want your work seen, that's the only avenue you got. Okay. But just be mindful, again, expectations, manage those expectations and knowing where you're putting your money at. If you're putting your money at a very high level contest, that's one of the top three. I don't know all the top three because I don't develop anymore. I don't actually, go in and start, optioning scripts, but you can research that. I would think Hollywood Reporter, Variety, or Deadline might have a list curated of some of the best script writing contests. I would look at the top like three or four. Um, Also, too, apply for the Sundance Film Festival labs, filmmaker labs, producer labs, writer labs, director labs. People are like, it's hard to get in. Shoot, yeah, it is, but try. Get in these workshops. You know why? Because most of the films that go through Sundance workshops get made and go to Sundance. Most of them, not all of them. But there's other workshops that are done usually during the summer or during off seasons that the festivals do. Um, this is a good question. What is the fast track to finding full-time work with benefits? Um, that's a great question because just so you guys know, Chair 10 has a union signatory deal with IATSE and a union deal with Teamsters. So nothing that I produce or nothing that we provide production services for can be non-union. And that's just because of my signatory status. So unfortunately, I can't hire a non-union unless you're a PA. It's about all I can do. But what I can tell you is that the union specifically loves these smaller independent films. And the reason why is because it's a good training ground. You've got people that have worked on $200,000, $300,000 films, $400,000 films, $50,000 films. They learn. I mean, I did it. My first feature that I shot was like a little under $800,000 in LA. And that was like 20 years ago. That was a lot of money 20 years ago, I guess. But it was non-union. I mean, it was SAG, but that was it. So Here's the thing. If you want to get fast tracked, if you really want to get into this, here's what I would highly suggest. Go to the local, go wherever your interest is. If you want to be, an AD, if you want to be a location manager, if you want to be a grip, an electric, if you want to be camera, look at the union that you would go after. Camera would be Local 600. Local 600 has a training program. Local 600, Heim Cancer, which is used to run 600, he's no longer there. He's on the international side. Very supportive of people learning. We had Shelley Johnson, the president of ASC, on our movie Summer House during the summer. Very good at teaching. So there are ways. The ASC did a master class in New York. There's ways for you to get involved. And so the idea is find somebody's seasoned. Find a first AC that's already in Local 600. Work with them. And then maybe you can try to get in, and because I'm just saying 600 is a good thing, is a camera loader. Camera loader is considered, it's the entry level on the camera department. And get on and see if you can get on a camera loader. Now, another thing you could do is, you could work for wardrobe and costuming as a costuming PA, right? But if you do really good, and if you work under a seasoned union person, they can fight for you or be an advocate for you to get the next movie, maybe join the union. So it's really about relationships. You have to develop the relationships. You have to find people that are seasoned, as I've gone before, and I'll say it a million times, is please follow people that have made something happen. It doesn't matter if it's a lower level, mid-level, a lot of short films. There's a lot of 48-hour film festivals that are great. There's a lot of great short films. There's a lot of people, and it's like I love Mike Furman, and the reason, Mike, is because he's such a talented writer, a talented director, such a talented person, but he's now working for us on union jobs, but he's doing these independent films. TJ Sullivan's got a great program, and great, stronghold in Hartford. You got to look at people that are doing stuff in the state, like physically doing stuff. They're currently doing, not that they're talking about it, but they're currently doing it. Because that's the thing. If you talk about it, well, what have you done? I mean, a lot of people kind of, would say that in Hollywood. You're like, oh, I got this script and we got to, this. And I'm like, really? I mean, who's attached? We don't have anybody yet. Well, I mean, it's like you got to be careful of what you're saying and who you're working with. Trying to think of some other questions. Let's see. With no experience, credits, or track record, what is and are the first steps? That's a good question. I mean, I think we touched on this before throughout the workshop here, is that if you don't have any experience, just, I said, shadow somebody, ask somebody to be an intern. Keep in mind though, and this is just, my belief, and I don't know if anybody else would agree with me, but interns are not to be there to do all the work. Interns are there to learn. And they can be involved. They should have some hands-on experience. They should have some hands-on work, but they cannot do the covered work of a certified, union rep or a seasoned professional. Interns should not be asked to do things. They're there to learn. And if you do ask them to do something, you make sure that it's them, they're learning something from that activity or that whatever they're doing. It's like if I have an intern and I have them working through my smug mug and all my location stuff, I'm teaching them about how to put locations, and they're learning things about location stuff. There's ways to teach people, but you got to learn, ask questions, find a mentor. There's some great people in the state. You could say, listen, hey, feel free to, can I just stand by you and shadow you for a day? Hey, it's not a lot, but you're on the set, you're with somebody, that's it. And then don't expect them to turn around and go the next day, I'm going to hire you. You got to, I always say pay your dues. Unfortunately, this industry is a lot about the journeyman. It's about being a journeyman. You have to go as an apprentice. It's an apprenticeship. All of the major trades, be it from grip, electric, dolly grip, camera, all of those are trade jobs that are specifically designed that you have to be an apprentice, a journeyman. You have to, in the union, you have to take tests. You have to be experienced. I always tell people, if you know what you're doing, you know what a cardellini is, a half flag. You know what a half apple, quarter apple. Some of these crazy terms that most people have no idea, So I think that's important. And then the other idea too is simplicity, simple, just it's simple, stupid. It's like keep it simple, stupid. Basically, just keep it easy. Keep it, just when you're talking to somebody, when you're networking, just get to let them talk. Let them listen because you're gaining knowledge by letting them listen and you're listening to them and gaining knowledge. And then you take notes. I've even had interns that says, listen, can I record, can I record you talking about this? I'm like, sure, because I want to teach. And that's what you should be around with people that are experienced in teaching. Um, Somebody asked a really good question. Is someone with a background in forensics, um, or some sort of death investigator, is there any type of consulting work in the field? Absolutely. If you're a nurse practitioner or if you're a medical person, just so you know, we hired a brain surgeon, a literal brain surgeon on this last movie to advise the director and our lead actor. I mean, he's a certified brain surgeon. And we had one of his assistants, a medical tech, come in as well. We also had, a nurse. you know, those are professions. I can tell you right now, a lot of times you'll have, so if you have a career background in something that's unique, um, that you can get work that way. You can also, I don't know if you're a veteran. We have a veterans program that I'm working with the unions on hiring veterans and working with veterans. So that's something else. You got to look at your background, what you have experience with, and help showcase your next move to be able to get a job. Let's see, with no experience was. Uh, who are the casting company networks and CT? Well, you know what? I don't know if you guys know this, but and this is my personal thing. This is my pitch for the alliance here. Here you go. A lot of people see Connecticut as what we call a flyover state. They see New Jersey, New York, Boston. You're like wondering where all these jobs are going. People don't really. It's been very difficult to build the infrastructure here. It used to exist. It does not is exist as it used to, but we've been working very diligently, very hard to build it. And I keep giving a shout out to other people, but there's a lot of other companies, a lot of other producers in the state have really helped try to build that infrastructure. But Crooked Smile is our preferred client, and I love Don Q. You should reach out to him, and he can get you kind of talk to you about what he can get you and put you in his database and all that. Um, I don't know if there's any acting workshops. I was talking to Anina, our casting director, CSA casting director, about doing an acting workshop. She did say that she'd be interested in doing that. Please nod your head if you'd want a casting director to do it. Okay, that's so that'll be in the works. I think that's something important to talk about. And how do you go about finding people to pitch? I think we went through that. Let's see. Let's see. How much of your okay here? Okay, so here's the other thing I want to recommend, and this is just a personal recommendation, just from my years of experience, is that you cannot go into this thinking that, oh my God, I've been pitching for 6 months and I haven't gotten anything. You can't go with it that way. And I know this sounds so cliche. It's not about the destination, it's just about the journey. I know that sounds cliche, but that's the truth. Because it can take years and even a decade. There have been people that have spent 10, 15, 20 years to get a film off the ground. They finally got it off the ground. So what I'm saying to that is make sure that you just go in it with like patience, grace for yourself, self-care. Make sure that you understand that you guys are all talented in every which way I don't even know, but I know all of you have some sort of great talent. Utilize that and find ways to create opportunities and make an opportunity. There are opportunities in the state that you might not know about, but try to find them, dig, create opportunities for yourself. But you know what the other thing is? Don't be afraid to step over state lines too. There's a lot going on in Brooklyn. There's a lot going on in Newburgh. I have a partnership with Choice Films and Umbra Stages. They're great. Tony and Summer are fantastic. They've got a lot of projects going on. We just hired Summer to be our DGA UPM on our last movie. She's fantastic. So there are a lot of people around the region because here's the thing: the region is where you're working. Because basically, all the work is in the three region. Our region is the Connecticut, New Jersey, New York. Boston's a little bit further out. If you guys are in New London or further up in Mystic or somewhere else, you could look at the Boston market. But I mean, I would love for you guys to all stay here. um, and then the other thing is that we do want to showcase Connecticut talent. one of the things that I want to nod your head if this is something you would like to see is film festivals promoting, Connecticut films. Yeah. So that's something that I really want to stress and reach out to your local film festival, the one around the block, wherever. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of great ones. Talk to the festival director. Talk about, hey, I want to get my short film. And reverse engineer it. That this is one of the best Academy Award winning advice that I was given by an Academy Award winning producer was reverse engineer the project. Start from writing it, thinking that you're going to build it to win an Academy Award. And how do you do that? By attaching certain people that will do that and get you to that point. So you reverse engineer it. How do you get to a film festival? Like I said, look at what the film festivals are promoting. Or is it a docu-series? If you're into docs, listen, documentaries are fantastic here. There's a lot of great documentary work here. And find your documentary, get on the train, start looking at people that are doing things, and that's how you build your network. But please don't just keep it in Connecticut. I mean, my Rolodex and who I pitch to, it's all outside the state. I'm begging people for jobs to get jobs here and not go to New Jersey or New York. And with that being said, one of the things, and I kind of want to wrap this up a little bit, is that I want to make sure that you guys are getting knowledge. We are going to have another workshop on March 8th. Is screenwriting. Beyond the basics, and that's going to be Lauren's going to teach you guys about writing a screenplay, not just writing, but beyond what just writing a screenplay. What do you need to do to have it polished? What do you need to do to present it correctly? Because I will give you a very good example. And I've literally seen agents do this. They will take a script and turn it upside down and flip through it. And if they see huge chunks of dialogue over and over again, or they don't see any action breaks between the dialogue, they don't read it. That is a simple inside industry track information. A lot of screenwriters don't know that. So, it's things like that that Lauren can kind of teach you guys how to put your screenplay together, excuse me, correctly, so that at least it looks like it, and it sounds and it's great and you feel pretty confident and successful about it. But I'm assuming you guys feel like this is an informative workshop. Okay, because I do believe, and I'm going to say this, and just to be completely transparent, because this is how I work, and if you ever work on my productions, this is how I deal with people, is to be completely honest and transparent and managing the expectation is this. I can't answer everyone's email. I don't have the time. If I did, I would not be able to work. I would be answering emails all day long. I will do my best, but always be politely persistent. And there are not just me. I mean, I'm not going to, if you're looking to get your film produced, I'm probably not the person to talk to right now. I'm more about if you got money and you're a large enough production, I can talk to you about how to do a union job. And things like that. But there's also the alliance, and I want to encourage people to, like, we've been starting. It was a little slow getting off. Now we're going to be doing these workshops, but the idea is that there's a lot of great indie people there, and we got to be proud. We got to be proud of some great films that have come out of Connecticut. I mean, just at the indie level. So we do want to support all of the indie part of that. And quoting Tom Woods from Local 52, loves these small independent films. It's a good training ground for the larger studio jobs that come in. So, keep it going. I mean, and some of you guys have produced some great material. And also, with our committee, we'll be sending out emails. Like I said, our next workshop will be on March 8th, I believe. Becky, can you confirm that, right? Where's Becky? I don't know. I don't see her.
Hi,
Um,
I'm here.
so, and also you guys too, the three committees that we're going to be focusing on, is that political action committee and events committee, and then the education committee. So I'm going to leave you with something that should put a fire under everybody's, rear end. The governor's budget just came out. He's proposed to cut the tax credit to 25%, not 30, not to get the 30, you have to spend $1 million. That could devastate our industry here, because 5% to somebody like an ESPN or NBC Universal or even myself, what our productions that we're doing, we'll lose jobs. We'll lose the film here. We have to let your local lawmakers, you have to let them know. do not support the 5% cut in the tax credit. We will be doing testimony. I don't know if any of you guys have testified in previous years. Last year we had a great showing. Please, I implore you to please testify in person or in writing when it comes up, um, especially with the finance committee, because the finance committee, you guys, is the most powerful and the strongest committee in the entire legislative body because they manage the budget. And now our governor is saying, whoops, let's just cut it down by 5%. So, we need to be aware of that. So please feel free to talk to your lawmakers and convince them to support the film industry as much as they can, because this is something that's really important to all of us, all near and dear to all of us. And we want to keep working in Connecticut, and we'd hate to see all this stuff dry up. And you guys have to go to New Jersey or New York to work. I'd hate that. I'd love for you guys to work in the state. So without further ado, and it's a little early, but thank you guys. Thank you all. Thank you
Thanks,
for your
Jonathan.
time.
Can we have a directory of people in the group?
Oh, are you talking about present here today or
No,
the
just
line?
in overall.
Yeah, well, we can talk about that. Well, you can email Becky. Becky, make sure you get his email, and then we can do a sidebar, and we can talk about how we
I
can
would
help you.
love to add if anybody has any more questions, comments, suggestions, anything, feel free to email info@connecticutfilmandtvalliance.com. You'll get through to me. If you have a question or a suggestion for Jonathan, I can always forward that to him from that email. And please remember, if you are not a member, we would really love if you signed up. You will get access to emails that contain information about events, political action, ways that you can help the Alliance, ways that you can volunteer, and of course, more information about educational workshops like this. So please don't forget to become a member if you aren't already.
And lastly, we do have an insurance discount program. You can check it out on the website. If you are, one of the 1099 workers, gig workers, or whatever else, you're scratching your head, how do I do insurance? Um, that's something you can look into. It's a program that we're sponsoring, that you could take a look at that might be, help you out as a benefit as a membership here. But anyway, at that rate, thank you all, and I look forward to seeing all your awesome, creative, talented faces sometime in the near future. So, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. You were great.